Hello, and welcome to this webinar on the SciTech and Human Rights FutureGen Scholars Program. My name is Nate Weisenberg. I'm a program associate with the American Association for the Advancement of Science, Scientific Responsibility, Human Rights, and Law program. And I'm joined here today by my colleague, Theresa Harris. And we're going to spend a few minutes going over the FutureGen Scholars Program, what it is, and how to apply. And then we'll have our contact information at the end in case you need to reach out to us with any additional questions. So Theresa, I'll turn it over to you now for your portion of the presentation.
Thanks, Nate. I'm Theresa Harris. As Nate said, I am the project director for our human rights projects within the Scientific Responsibility, Human Rights, and Law program. And that includes the Science and Human Rights Coalition. The Science and Human Rights Coalition, AAAS, serves as the secretariat for this network of scientific organizations that are all working together to advance human rights within their associations, apply their disciplines to human rights, get their members involved in human rights initiatives, and take action on behalf of their scientific discipline, on behalf of their scientific colleagues around the world, on taking positions that support human rights. We, as a coalition, we have a number of projects that are collaborative projects identified by the coalition member organizations as priorities. We have lots of webinars like this, tools, educational opportunities, resources, reports that are all on our website. But one of the main priorities for the coalition is to engage students across disciplines in our work, not just in the sciences, science, technology, engineering, math, medicine, but also in disciplines, other areas that are connected to human rights, law, international studies, political studies. So when we talk about students, we're talking about students across all disciplines and all over the world. This is not even though we're based in the United States and the one of those A's in AAAS stands for American, we do have members and especially students all over the world who are involved in the coalition. So we've created a number of opportunities for students to get involved, understanding that students have very particular interests in their education, in their career pathways, in applying that to solving problems and making the world a better place. We also understand that students have a lot of time constraints that are pulled in a lot of different directions. So we have tried to create some opportunities that that can be integrated into those in different ways, depending on what your particular situation is and what your goals are as a student. We have an essay competition that's open right now, actually. And if you want to take a look at that, it's on the SRHRL website for the coalition. We have conferences, in particular, the Science, Technology, and Human Rights Conference, which will take place October 21st and 22nd this year online. It'll be virtual this year. And we will have student networking opportunities through that conference. We also have other opportunities for students to connect with each other. There's a Slack channel for students who are involved in the coalition where the students are helping each other connect, find projects, collaborate on papers, all kinds of different ways that they're supporting each other, and also networking within the coalition organizations. If you're a student in physics, the American Physical Society is a member, and we can connect you with physicists and faculty in physics who are also engaged in human rights work across the many connections between science and human rights. And these all create opportunities for leadership within the coalition. Developing your own leadership skills, connecting ways that you're a leader on campus with the Science and Human Rights Coalition so that all those resources are helping you and you're part of this broader group movement connecting science and human rights. So added to all of that is the new FutureGen Scholars Initiative. The coalition wanted to create the SciTech and Human Rights FutureGen Scholars program because there was this need to really give an opportunity for students to go deeper than writing an essay, attending a conference. Those are all great opportunities for students. This is a way to provide real support, including a $5,000 stipend and working with a mentor through the coalition on a particular project. We want to provide the opportunity, including the financial resources to do this, to identify potential pathways and careers, see what the real opportunities are out there by connecting your educational path, your research, your interests with a real world situation and a project where you can make a real difference in a year by being named a FutureGen scholar. It also is intended to create some highlight projects that others can look to as examples of how we can leverage science and technology to advance human rights. Nate, over to you.
All right. So I'll talk a little bit about, what kind of who's eligible, what kind of projects we're looking for, and then a little bit about the application process. Basically, with the project, we're trying to be as inclusive and open as possible. So it's open to undergrad and grad students at US-based institutions in any disciplines. You don't have to be part of a STEM field to participate, although that's especially encouraged and welcome. And we're really looking forward to many different kinds of project ideas. We have some suggestions on the website for what might make what we think a competitive proposal could look like, but we're really open to a lot of different ideas, and we don't pretend that we will have thought of all the possibilities. So really what's most important is that it's a creative idea that leverages the connections between science and technology and human rights on your campus, in your local community or community in which you have connections. And we're defining community pretty broadly. So much of what we do with our program at AAAS is really based on working with in equal partnership with communities and putting community needs at the forefront of the work that we do. So we're trying to keep this process as open as possible, but we're happy to answer specific questions if you are, if you have a question about, your description or you're formulating your project and you're not sure if something would qualify, please don't hesitate to ask us. We're happy to help. And there's some of the review criteria I'll actually talk about in a moment when we talk about the application, but basically that relates to talking about science and human rights issues the project is addressing, if there's a community involvement, describing what that form will take, what form that will take, and so forth. About the application process, you'll see hopefully a URL on your screen. That's the link to start your application. There's a red button on the page that says start your application. There's also a direct link to the form elsewhere on that page. So the deadline is June 16th. So since we still have a few weeks, it's sort of a good idea to start getting the process going if you haven't already, particularly for the 3 letters of recommendation that I'll get to in a moment. So when you log onto the online system, the first page is just basically a recap of some of the stuff we've talked about in this presentation, a little bit more about what's eligible, some of the basic questions that people have asked. And then after that page is just sort of an initial page where we're looking for very basic information, your name, your email address, what college or university you're affiliated with. And then after that is where we get to the more substantive questions. So we're looking for, what the title of your project is, a resume or CV up to 2 pages. And then there are 2 short answer questions. One is 1,500 characters, and that's just sort of examples of your leadership skills that are relevant to the project and show that, how you'll be able to complete the project successfully. The other question of their short answer, or more of a long answer actually, is description of the project, and there's a 5,000 character limit there. And actually in the system itself, you can type your answers in there, and then at the top right hand corner, there's a button that says save and continue later. So you don't have to complete it all in one sitting. You can do part of it and then come back later. And what you do when you save it is that the system will send an email to you. When you click the save button, it'll tell you how to do that. And that will send an email to you. So you just click on that link when you're ready to go back. Uh, just for me personally, for stuff like this, I like drafting it in Microsoft Word or whatever word processing program you use. I just find that easier. So you draft it there, and then when you're happy with it, you copy paste it into the application. But it can support both, whatever works best for you. And in the description of the project, as I was mentioning earlier, there's a few things we're really looking for. We're looking for the discussion of the human rights concerns your project is addressing, how science and technology are used to achieve the goals of the project, your expected activities and outcomes. So what you plan to do and what the results of what you do will be. As I was talking about earlier, how are affected persons and communities involved? So if this is a human rights issue that touches on a community that you're working with, we want to make sure that we know how the community is going to be equitably involved in the project, and to make sure that voices and perspectives from that community are appropriately represented. So that's an important part of the application. And then last but not least there, we're also wondering just if you could say a little bit more in the application too about what role, if any, your academic institution is going to play in the project. After that, there's a project budget. So there's a link in the application form. We created a template for it. It's a form in Dropbox. You can just download it, fill it in Microsoft Word or whatever program you use, and then upload it back to the system when you're ready to submit your application. It's pretty straightforward. We have a couple examples in there. So we're just looking for items for example, if you're organizing a discussion on Zoom, and you want to pay for an expanded Zoom license that can accommodate more people, how much does that cost? Things like that. We want to get a sense of how the $5,000 stipend might be used for the project, and I'm happy to answer any more specific questions about that. Uh, I guess the last thing I'll talk about here is the 3 letters of recommendation. So that's also an important part of the project. It's one of the last answer options you have. And we are looking, as I said, for 3 letters, and especially one that comes from a faculty member who is willing to serve as an advisor on the project. There is a sort of faculty, there is a mentor that we will be pairing you up with through the science for the AAAS Science and Human Rights Coalition, one of our members there. But the idea of the recommendation from this person is that you also have someone in your campus who can provide assistance and guidance with the project as well, and somebody who already knows you. So hopefully this individual will also be assisting you with the project if you have questions. Definitely feel free to email us at the addresses on the screen. So if you have a question about, am I eligible? Is my project idea eligible? You can reach out to Theresa. If you have a question that's related to the application, oh, I couldn't get this, I couldn't find the Dropbox form, I'm not able to upload a file for some reason, that sort of thing, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you again for your interest in the FutureGen Scholars Program, and we look forward to hearing from you. Have a great rest of your day.